On November 25th, 1991, a 35-year-old mother named Cindy Wehner simply vanished from her house in Granite Bay, California. The only one who knew she was gone was her 11-month-old baby, who was found abandoned but unharmed in a high chair. For her family, an unimaginable nightmare was just beginning. But the mistakes that sealed Cindy's fate had been made 10 months earlier, when the justice system unlocked the cage of a man it already knew was a monster. The story of this tragedy really begins more than a decade earlier, in 1980. A man named James Lawhead Jr. broke into a grandmother's home where he committed a crime of unspeakable violence. He beat the 70-year-old woman unconscious and sexually assaulted her 11-year-old granddaughter. The sheer brutality of the attack left no doubt about the danger he posed. Lawhead was caught, convicted, and sentenced to 19 years in state prison. The community and what was left of his victims' lives could finally feel a sense of safety, believing a violent predator was securely behind bars for nearly 2 decades. But that's not what happened. For reasons that are hard to understand, James Lawhead Jr. did not serve his full sentence. Despite the horrific nature of his crimes, he was granted early release. After serving only 11 years of his 19-year sentence, the prison doors swung open, and he was a free man. Psychiatrists at the time had classified him as a mentally disordered sex offender who was not amenable to treatment. Yet he was released anyway. It was a decision that would have catastrophic consequences just 10 months later. After his release in early 1991, Lawhead's path crossed with Cindy Wehner's. On that fateful November day, he abducted her from the perceived safety of her sister's home, leaving her infant daughter alone and helpless. A massive search was launched, and for 3 agonizing weeks, her family prayed for her safe return. Their hopes were shattered when Cindy's body was discovered in a remote wooded area over 40 miles away. She had been strangled to death. Pathologists believe she had been kept alive for days, or even weeks after she was taken. The vibrant, loving mother was gone, and her family was left with a void that could never be filled. The investigation into her murder quickly went cold. For decades, the case gathered dust. Meanwhile, after a weapons charge in 2005, James Lawhead Jr. disappeared, assuming a new identity and becoming a ghost in the system. For over 30 years, Cindy Wehner's family was left to wonder if they would ever find the person who destroyed their world. The failures in this case put a spotlight on a justice system that is under constant scrutiny. If you want to see more stories that examine the difficulty balance between punishment, rehabilitation, and public safety, consider subscribing for more deep dives into these complex cases. For more than 30 years, the question of who killed Cindy Wehner remained unanswered, but forensic technology was advancing in ways no one could have predicted in 1991. In 2026, investigators finally had a breakthrough. Using new DNA analysis on a final piece of evidence, they built a profile of the killer. That profile led them to one man, James Lawhead Jr. The ghost who had vanished decades earlier was finally given a name. In April of 2026, authorities tracked the now 64-year-old Lawhead to Bullhead City, Arizona, where he had been living under the alias Vincent Reynolds. He was arrested and charged with the 1991 kidnapping and murder of Cindy Wehner. When they arrested him, they found multiple loaded firearms, $15,000 in cash, and a burner phone. After more than 3 decades of silence, a family was finally on the path to getting answers. The arrest brought a wave of relief, but also renewed anger. The man who had taken so much was someone the system already had in its grasp. The case of James Lawhead Jr. is a chilling reminder that the consequences of legal decisions can be a matter of life and death. One family was shattered in 1980, yet the system deemed him fit for release just 11 years later. That single decision led to a second wave of devastation, destroying the life of Cindy Wehner and leaving her family to grieve for over 30 years. 2 families, separated by a decade, were forever linked by the failures of a system that was supposed to deliver justice, but instead delivered another tragedy. While Lawhead's eventual capture is a testament to the persistence of law enforcement and the power of science, Cindy Wehner is a justice that came 34 years too late.